Alright guys, today there's no vocabulary. You're just going to use your ruler to make you an X and Y axis. We're going to number 1 through 4 on each axis and in each quadrant. We are going to plot the point 2, 3, and -1, -1. Go over 2, up 3, -1, -1. Let's call this point H and this point J. My question to you is, what is the distance between these 2 points? Let's go ahead and connect them with your ruler. Should have formed a straight line like that. In order to find the distance, we need to form a right triangle. So let's see, I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to go. Step 1 in finding the distance between 2 points. We want to find the length of each leg. Of course, we have to make a right triangle on that. It's kind of like when we did slope, how we had to go dot, 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 over, over, over. Remember that on a right triangle, where the legs meet at a 90-degree angle and across from the 90-degree angle, which is the diagonal, is your hypotenuse. So technically, on a graph, you're going to be solving for the hypotenuse, which is what letter? So the length of leg right here, we got 1, 2, 3. So we're going to say this is 3, and this is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So because this is a right triangle, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse. So we're going to let A equal 3, that would be a leg, and B equal 4. Use the Pythagorean theorem. Now, I know you guys have your preference on which way you like to use it, but I'm going to go back the old traditional way, and then you guys can use what you want from that point. So we're going to start with A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Let's plug in A, B equals C. 9 plus 16 equals C squared. 25 equals C squared. And then we want C by itself, for we're going to square root both sides. C will equal 5. So the length of that leg of JH equals 5. And of course, we were looking for C, so I'm going to put a C question mark up there, and we found it. We're going to go ahead and turn it over on the back, make your Cornell line, and sometimes you're given just ordered pairs. So when you are given just ordered pairs, so you know, like the points on the front that we had, which were 2, 3, and -1, 1. Say that you don't have a graph. Well, they'll just give you ordered pairs, and so we're going to go over the process for that. Just given ordered pairs or coordinates. When that happens, you use the distance formula. The distance formula is another way to find the length of a diagonal without the graph. So here's your formula. Notice we use square root when solving with Pythagorean theorem, right? Well, here's the formula. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. D is the distance between the 2 points. Now let's do a practice problem. We're going to use the exact same number that we used, or the same ordered pairs, shall I say, that we used on the front. So we're going to label this x1, y1. You guys already know how to do this, except for you have to be careful and not get this confused with slope, okay? So the square root of, now let's plug in x2. So x2 value is -1 minus x1, which is 2. You need to square that, plus y2, which is -1, minus y1, square that. Let's see what that equals. So you can go step by step. So -1 minus 2 is -3. So we end up with -3 squared plus -1 minus 3 is -4. Just keep your squared. And then that equals square root of 9 plus 16, which equals the square root of 25. That 9 plus 16 is 25, right? Square root of 25 is 5. That's exactly what we got on the front. Now let's do a second one. All right, so we have 4, 7, 8, and 2. Let's label them x1, y1, x2, y2. So my question is, what is the hypotenuse? What's the distance between these 2 points? What is the hypotenuse? So we're going to use our distance formula, which is at the top. So I'm just going to plug in according to the top. You have x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. The square root of 8 minus 4 is simply 4. I keep my square. Plus 2 minus 7 is -5 squared equals 4 squared is 16 plus. Now be careful on these negatives. This means -5 times -5. A negative times a negative is a positive. So -5 squared is positive 25 equals. When you add the two, you get 41. So the square root of 41 will be our final answer, which is approximately, I'm going to do the wavy line, which means approximately you should get about 6.4. That's it for your notes.